knows about web and back-end application development, and his love for tinkering and experimentation is evident in his commitment to creating readable code that can be shared and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. Additionally, he has made contributions to the field of human computer interaction, specifically in creating interactivity for online learning content. And as a valued member of ACM SIG-CHI, he has also reviewed and contributed to the advancement of the field. I know you're excited with this one, and he'll be talking about unlocking web performance, leveraging core web vitals for effective website optimization. Let us hear it from Tony Jan K. Montserrat. So let us give them a big round of applause, please.
Uh, Hi guys. Hi guys. Usual. Ay, aksan nyo naman. Hi guys. Guys. Malaksan nyo palalo. Hi guys. Ay, wala na. Sige, ulit. Anyway, so we're going to talk about unlocking web performance, or actually, specifically, improving yung websites natin. But before that, who is or who are here the web developers? Okay. Who are working for a software dev company na nagagawa ng web products for clients? Okay. Ang ginagawa nila is a production or a product website. Okay, kakount kung umuunti na. So, and yung iba, anong field? Data analytics. Wala. Sa AI or machine learning, yung mga nagustuhan yung kaninang talk, huwag ka nang magtaas ng kamay. Kilala na kita eh. Yung isang tao doon. Anyway, yung iba, nahihiya lang. Yes, okay, sige. Mga talaga. Okay, so we'll discuss again yun nga, how to improve your websites, specifically for user experience. So for those na web developers, this might be useful for you.
Nakikita yung pagpapukan mo sa camera.
Yan, para daw cute. Sige, dito na nga ako. Para cute. Ayan. Okay, so the talk is about how browsers render. So we need to understand how browsers show yung ating websites in terms of like how they process yung information, and then what makes a browser tick. Kasi that is doon nakadepende kung maganda yung user experience natin. Kung ano yung nilo-load natin doon sa browser. Now, we will also talk about four items that will help us measure yung user experience, but talaga 3 lang yun. I'll talk about why later. And then how we can improve our website to get good user experience and bake these practices while developing in the web. Now, yung hindi ko pag-usapan dito is how to fix your insert favorite framework. Abutin tayo ng siyam-siyam. We cannot talk about everything here. Any design guidelines, hindi ko rin ita-touch dito. Again, that would be a different topic. And what's the best web framework? Baka maging Twitter warfare dito. Like, oh, React, no, Angular, no, Svelte, or no. So, hindi natin yung pag-usapan. So, a review. Sino nakakaalam how your browser renders an HTML or website page? Wala? Gusto niyo pagdaanan natin to? Guys, sagot naman. Kailangan ko ng audience impact. Audience, participation. Dadaanan natin. Yes, okay, good. So let's have this kind of example. The usual example, especially if you're using Webpack, if you use yung any bundlers that also generates the HTML, and even if you are creating your own, or like, kunyari mga next.js or Next or whatever it is, usually would have an HTML, yung head would have yung link, yung style sheets, which loads a style sheet, and then you have your script, which is loaded as well as a separate file, and yung content. If you are someone who was taught by an instructor around 2004, 2005, ganito yung usual example kapag mag-build ng yung sa intro to web development sa college, di ba? Oo, kailangan natin separate yung style sheet. Kailangan natin separate yung scripts. Bakit? For good developer experience. So usually, yan yung itsura. Now, how does it show or render sa screen? It starts with one thing, I don't know why. It doesn't matter how hard I try. Okay, so it starts with this one. You have your URL that sends a request sa server. Get the HTML, i-build yung DOM. Part ng DOM, it's the head. So ipaparse niya yung head, makikita niya yung link. If the browser sees a link, kunin niya si CSS. Magpo-block na siya ng rendering. Tigil ang lahat kasi hihintayin ko yung CSS. Process ulit ni server yung request, return niya yung CSS, tsaka niya i-build yung CSOM. Pagka build niya ng CSOM, okay, go ahead. Na-build na niya yung CSOM. Nakita niya yung script tab na may SRC. Request niya si JS, process yung server to deliver JS, return niya yung JS file, all the while, itong part na to, i-block niya yung rendering ulit. So wala ka pa rin nakikita content up to this point. Now, although, let's say if your computer is really fast, then good. Pero kung katulad ng phone ko, na 3 gigabytes lang, kasi 6,000 pesos lang to sa Lazada, sorry, mahirap. Mas mabagal to. So, once na ma-parse niya yung JavaScript, it will try to execute it, whatever needed na ma-execute, it's still blocking the render. Kasi part pa rin siya ng parsing of the head. So, wala ka pa rin nakikita content dito. 5 seconds na, wala pa rin content. Then after nun, makikita niya yung body na part, tsaka lang niya i-render kung ano man yung nakasulat sa body. Then once done, you'll have yung page rendered. So, ganyan mag-work yung browser natin. And ganito yung itsura niya. You have your site na, okay, kita mo na yung screen, for some time, meron ding interaction na gusto ka mangyari, pero dahil hindi rin patapos din yung JavaScript, if you loaded another set of JavaScript after nung page render, ang pangit ng interaction mo. Bagal. Ganun. Lalo na kapag yung internet mo ay galing dun sa, ayoko nang sabihin kung anong telecommunications company yan. Kayo na lang po mag-imagine. Now, let's try naman a different way. You'll have this part where naka-inline yung styles and yung script is inline din, but it's part of the head. So wala ka nang niloload na file. Everything is in the HTML. So ganito yung itsura na niya ngayon. Once the DOM has been built, it will read the style, pero dahil hindi na natin siya niloload, we build directly the CSOM. We execute the JavaScript, but it blocks yung rendering pa rin. So kung gaano katagal yung execution ng JavaScript mo, ganun din katagal yung blocking of the content. Then, saka niya ipaparse yung DOM for the body and then show yung screen. Now, what if kung ganito yung gawin ko? Yung script ngayon, the position of the script is important. It's after the content. It's not before the content, it's after the content. So, ang itsura niya, ganito. You have your parsing of the head. Once na mabuild niya yung CSOM, parse agad sa body, show the rendered page, execute the script, and then re-show or repaint the page once it has, let's say, if the JavaScript had or done something dun sa DOM, re-render niya ulit yung page na yun. Now, the good thing here is, dito, may nakita na siya. And that's, yay! Woo! Init eh. Init mag-costume dito. No? So, this is what good user experience should look like in terms of the browser. Kasi we have the content shown, and then if there's any changes, tsaka lang magpapakita ng change. Kaya there are calls to have, let's say, server-side rendering for those people who know server-side rendering, so that walang script that would block yung kung ano man yung kailangan na content na ilabas agad. But there are things na pwede pa ayusin dito or improve. So for measuring user experience using Core Web Vitals, yun yung gagamitin natin. So question is, how do we get good user experience when it comes to the web? Siyempre, ang sagot talaga natin, yung mabilis and reactive. Meaning, if I click on something, we can see a reaction dun sa website that we are using. And again, gusto nga natin mabilis. It's always available, it's always there. And ayaw natin ng ganito nga, na mabagal. Yan. So perceptions of good user experience, we want to have the content seen immediately. We don't want to wait. Now, this was pre-pandemic, pero when I posted na gusto natin ng mas mabilis na website, or kailangan natin ma-optimize yung web, there are people na, yung internet natin sa Pilipinas, bibilis din naman katulad ng Japan or Korea. Diba? Parang, di natin kailangan perform ng well, or we don't need to optimize our website. Why? Kasi bibilis naman yung internet ng Pilipinas. Bumilis nga ba ang internet ng Pilipinas? Hindi. Ilang taon na, ganun pa rin. Diba? And even if we have a fast internet, let's say if you went to, let's say, Korea or Singapore, actually Singapore is a good example. Even if you are in a train, maganda yung internet. The thing with our perception with speed is it's really dependent on kung ano yung alam natin na dapat speed. Like if you're in the Philippines, sanay ka na 10 seconds yung loading time ng website mo or 15 seconds. Sanay ka. You're a forgiving person. Very Catholic. Like, sige, okay lang. Hintay tayo, okay lang yan. Pero pag nasa Singapore ka, because you know that it should be fast, pag 10 seconds yung website loading experience mo, anong ginagawa mo? Lipat na ako. Ayoko na dito. Kasi bored ka na. You're expecting it to be fast. Like, in a sense, if you have a computer na Core i3, okay lang, mabagal. Kasi forgiving Core i3 eh. Pero kapag Threadripper yan, lumipat bigla sa AMD, no? Or Core i9, hindi na pala i9, no? Core 9, kasi nagbago na sila ng branding. Anong ina-expect mo? That mabilis. If you're using NVIDIA GTX 1080, okay lang. Kapag nag-4090 ka na, tapos biglang yung game mo, buggy pa rin, Yung game na yung may problema. Correct? So yun yun. Ganun din dito. If your site is slow on a fast internet, you don't expect it na, or slow in a slow internet, dapat you expect it na fast on a fast internet. Pero kung slow din siya on a fast internet, it's not you who is the problem. It's the website. Now, next is content changes happen immediately when you interact. Pag pumindot ka, dapat may mangyayari. Pag pumindot ka at walang nangyari, may problema yung website. Either that or may problema yung cellphone mo. So ano yung unang iisipin mo? Yung website o yung cellphone? Minsan yung cellphone muna. Kasi like, hindi kasi iPhone yung akin eh. So, baka marami lang nakaload. Kapag cleaner mo na lahat, tas mabagal pa rin yung website na yung may problem. And it's a bad experience. Kasi minsan, any lag can spell a difference of a product sold and a sale lost. And a sale loss is already costing money dun sa company. So, the other is yung, hindi ko pala ito na-ayos, but yung content that shifts, especially kapag na-load na, yung ganito yung itsura, yung na-load na to, tapos biglang nagbabasa ka, tapos biglang, whoop, nag-move siya bigla. It's a bad experience. Kasi yung later, let's say image, like dito sa part na to, or dito sa example na to, na may pipindutin ka, tapos biglang, buy, tapos yung cancel yung napindot mo, tapos ulit ka ulit. Nakakainis yun. And so yung perceptions natin for good user experience is actually this. For the ability to show yung content, it's called LCP or Large Contentful Paint. The next is FID or First Input Delay. Yung ability to have interaction na nagre-react agad yung screen. And the last is Cumulative Layout Shift or CLS. Now, if you're going to use Lighthouse, which is meron na sa DevTools natin sa Chrome, we have parang mga thresholds dito where LCP would need you to have 2.5 seconds below, which is a good. Needs improvement kapag within 2.5 to 4 seconds. And then very poor kapag 4 seconds above. Now, it doesn't, yung large contentful paint doesn't mean dapat yung buong website loaded na. It just means that yung first load mo na meron talagang image or large amount of text that is considered as a content, that's LCP. So kung kailan lumabas yon after mong i-load yung page, that's your LCP. And it should be below 2.5 seconds. Now, FID is, again, once you click on something, it should react. It should show something that will, let's say, an animation or something that will change. Below 100 milliseconds is good. So, paano yun? Mamaya natin pag-usapan. Below 300 milliseconds is, well, needs improvement. But other than that, ang itsura na niya, junky yung animation. Kasi that means you have a execution in the main thread na around 100 to 300 milliseconds or more. Then yung CLS, cumulative shift, if there is no change along the life cycle of the web page, that's 0.1 below, that's a good experience. Anything more than that is already parang a bad user experience. Or more than 0.25. Now, yung exchange dito na later on will be, kumbaga go live in terms of Lighthouse is there will be a change in the FID where instead of like once lang yung mangyayari na kapag nag-click ka, dapat mayroong um, appropriate output agad or appropriate change. This one also accounts to long or complex interactions with the user. Like kunyari, kapag nag-drag ka or if you click and there's an animation, dito papasok yung tinatawag na INP or interaction to next page. The idea here is that every animation that will show up, or in an animation there's frames, every frame should be below, or repaint of the frame should be below 200 milliseconds. So that means any execution of your JavaScript should be below 200 milliseconds. So kasi ganito yung itsura niyan. You have, let's say, your tasks, any JavaScript na nag-run. If there's an input, there's a considered input delay. Kung kunwari may task pa rin na nangyari. And then, ipoprocess syempre yung pointer mo, yung pag-click. Then, magre-render siya. If there is any delay on the repaint, that's also part of the INP. Kasi yung FID, ito lang yung kinakalculate. While yung INP is the whole process. Now, debugging and improving web core vitals. So improving LCP, we want to eliminate resource load delay. The thing with resource load delay is, of course, laging nauuna yung HTML. Hindi nauuna yung images kasi hindi alam ng browser kung ano yung ilo-load niyang files until ma-read niya yung HTML. So most of the time, if you want something to be loaded as well with your HTML, ilalagay mo na dun sa head yung mga kailangan niyang i-load na files. So, merong part, ito yata nailagay dito yung dapat ilagay na loading mechanism. But the idea is you can sort of have your scripts already loaded para nasa browser na siya, nasa cache na siya ng browser, as well as yung style sheets. Now, the other thing is, you can also, on the server side, you can set your server protocol from HTTP 1.1 to HTTP 2.0. Why? Kasi pwede kang mag-parallel sending pag 2.0. Pag 1.1, isa-isa lang yan. So, yan. Now, eliminate element render delay. So, render delay ng element is based usually on execution within the head. So, if you have scripts that is executing at the head, that delays the render of the element. Reduce resource load time. So, kung yung load time is dependent on the size, that means you need to compress yung file size. Compress or just minimize it completely. The other thing is you can check, let's say for JavaScript or CSS, you can check yung code coverage niya. Kasi if you see yung code coverage ng JavaScript na niloload nyo is 99% not covered, that means you are wasting 99% of the file size. Hindi naman pala gagamitin. And reduce time to first byte. Time to first byte is yung HTTP na index. If yung index.html mo is sobrang tagal mag-deliver, we want to reduce that. Now for FID, which later on yung INP din, minimize JavaScript execution. And to minimize yung JavaScript execution, you can separate yung tasks. Actually, you can break up long tasks or just delay yung pag-execute ng mga JavaScript files on a later part. Can also reduce script execution and data fetching. If you don't need the data yet, don't load it. And then the last part, which on a separate topic, if you want to know more, yung using of web workers. Now, I don't know if you guys already have sort of studied this before, pero ito yung problem ngayon sa college students. They don't know that JavaScript is a single-threaded machine. So, sino alam yung threads? Wala. Wow. Walang umaamin. Now, single-threaded machine means there's only one process that is running on the CPU or yung CPU for that machine, which is yung JavaScript. Or V8 for Chrome or Chromium based browsers, V8 engine. Isang isang process lang yung pwedeng mag-run. Doon sa process na yon, ang kailangan mag-run din doon is yung UI. So kapag ginamit niyo yung thread na yon for anything else other than the UI, anong mangyayari? Wala kang makikita. Or hindi magiging smooth yung animation mo. So even yung CSS changes on the animation runs on that same thread. So if you have a long ass computation, bigay nyo kay web worker. Tapos gagamit lang kayo ng message bus to communicate with each other. Yung main thread at saka yung web worker. Now, using web workers, there are already tools within Webpack or other bundlers to separate na yung coding mo pa rin is as if it's using the usual JavaScript style of coding na hindi ka mag-change into web worker type of coding. But yeah, kaya na ng bundlers ngayon to separate the main thread code dun sa web worker code. Other than that, yung INP again, one example is this one. Let's say you have some script execution that's still happening and then the user interacts with your site. Ang mangyayari dito is yung user interaction mo will be queued on some microtask queuing or not microtask, event queue. So event queue, iba yung microtask. Ang microtask queue, ang kinu-queue niya is yung promise async. Yung event is a different queue in itself. Now, once natapos na yung process dun sa main thread, kung walang iba dun sa queue, ipa-fire niya yung event na ginawa ng interaction. So dito pa lang, this is the input delay. Itong part na to. Now, once naman na-execute na yung JavaScript, if there's a needed fetch ng data, ito yung mangyayari. There is a delay on the execution of the event kasi may kukunin kang ang data. And later on, fetch async execution, if there's a change on the DOM, tsaka pa lang magkakaroon ng change dun sa page. Itong buong to, yung score ng INP. Now, to reduce that, we reduce yung input delay by making sure that the main thread is free. So, anything na ginawa na agad ng user, ipafire na niya agad yung event callback. Optimize event callbacks by, of course, making sure that yung event callback is only minuscule in terms of running so that any repaints na gusto mong mangyari always happens in between once na nagkukuha siya ng data and then once na makuha niya yung data. The other thing is in this callback, you can add animations already which allows some form of like, okay, may nangyayari sa screen. The other thing is minimize presentation delay. We wanted to have na dapat kakaunti lang yung DOM changes na gusto mong baguhin. Now, before, there was like problems with frameworks na kapag binago mo yung state ng parent component na may maraming subcomponents, yung buong DOM tree, change nga. Hindi ko na sasabihin ko anong framework yon. Pero at least nabago na nila yung behavior ng framework na yon. Which is good kasi nag-improve yung frameworks natin. But, again, there are edge cases, especially kapag, syempre, developer experience plus deadline equals bad programming. Diba? So, yun. So we hope na ganito yung mangyari. Na mabilis yung execution and yung changes sa DOM para kakaunti lang mabilis yung paglabas ng interaction. Now for CLS, of course, if you have images, add width and height. If not, add aspect ratio. Para meron kang space na ina-expect na nandito yung image. Kahit hindi pa loaded yung image, at least may space at hindi mag-change yung content. The other thing is you can use SRC set to determine kung ano yung image na ilo-load depending on the width size of the screen. And if you want to load different, depending on the media, ano yun? Parang CSS. So you can have max width and min width using the picture tag. And you can also set kung ano yung width and height for those source media depending on like kung ano yung max width and min width. Yeah. So parang nag-CSS ka pero on HTML. Kung ano yung ilo-load mong image. So you can use picture tag. The other is reduce embedded ads, or if you have ads or whatever it is na embedded object, you can just add a min height for that container. Para may na-expect ka, okay, the same as the image, just set a min height. Optimize CSS animations para hindi siya nagkakaroon ng changes sa size depending on the screen if there are animations, and use best practices on loading web fonts. You can have optional for font display or always have a fallback, especially kapag kailangan pang i-load yung particular font. There are other deeper na ways or more advanced ways to set kung ano yung behavior ng font mo kapag ang una niyang niload is a different font style pero like similar lang siya sa size or something. But hindi ko na siya pupunta dito kasi sabi ni Madam 10 minutes na lang daw. So, effects of improving core web vitals. These are just case studies that you can look at. But the idea here, over and over again, improvements on your core web vitals would always have improvements on user experience, and improvements on user experience usually make users buy something or mataas yung conversion, be converted. Ano to kulto? So yeah, so like Vodafone, iCook, Tokopedia, from 3.78 seconds to 1.72 seconds. Ayaw nga natin ng ganito. So, yeah. So, web performance affects user experience. So, just remember that. Some plugin, gusto ko lang i-plug in yung aking mga pinagagawa sa buhay. If you want to like understand how our minds like think in terms of technology, you can listen to us. And mamaya si Ralph lalabas dito. He's gonna do something here. But we talk about tech stuff. And if you want to learn or ask questions about what do we think about technologies as of the moment, or like ito, pag-usapan namin, I think this Thursday to. So if you want to listen, you can listen or watch. If you have questions, you can go to our YouTube or Facebook. You can also look at yung link na to kasi that's our previous discussion. Something na ipa-plug in ko din Although this is different from the web, but I'm also doing a lot of other things aside from the web performance. I do conversational design. I also build AI stuff. Kung ano yung iba to sa akin ni Ralph, gagawin ko. Kasi masaya siyang gawin. So any experiments about AI, I also teach kung ano yung matutunan ko. So if you guys are interested, you can take a picture, and then later on, or you can sort of register as well. So yan. Um, and I think you want to follow, tada! Siyempre, di ba? Kailangan ko nang itaas yung sarili, kasi tagod-tago ako sa bahay eh. So parang kailangan ko nang ilabas yung sarili ko. Sabi nga ng asawa ko, naku, ibubugaw na kita. Oh, yes po, okay, sige. So, binubugaw ko po yung sarili ko. If you want to see yung mga previous videos ko on web development, and later on, I will be posting like anything about coding and tinkering with technology, you go to TJ Learns to Code. If you want to see me playing games like Honkai Star Rail, DJ Monsi plays games. And then yung, because I'm part of Senti Tech Lab, so you can also look at these other, the YouTube channels for Senti and your Facebook page. As well as if you are interested in upskilling yourselves, you can go to Senti Upskill. So that is my talk. Thank you very much. If you have questions, okay, Maya. Okay. Oh, hi.
All right, thank you so much for unlocking web performance. That is very insightful talk. Once again, thank you so much, Sir TJ Montserrat. Let us give him a big round of applause, please. All right, so our photo booth, our photo man is now closed, so you may now claim your printed pictures here in front. So thank you so much, that's photo man and photo booth. You may also like their FB page and book them whenever you have events like corporate events like this. So you may approach our photo man here in front and book them for your upcoming event. So thank you so much. That's photo man and photo booth. Up next, now we will dive into the Google Cloud. I know, O'Neill, you've been waiting for this. All right, so our next speaker for today is a Google developer expert with years of experience in cloud computing, container orchestration, and app modernization. And he has a Google Professional Cloud Architect and CKA certificates. And he is the founder or community lead of GDG Cloud Hanoi. And he has also led the chapter for over 4 years that helped thousands of developers, IT students, and enabled them in cloud. So without further ado, please join me in giving a warm welcome to Nguyen Hai Trong. Let us give him a big round of applause, please. Good afternoon, sir.
Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Trương. I'm GE for Google Cloud Platform. I'm from Vietnam. First of all, I would like to say thank you to organizer of GE Manila to invite me to be here to be a speaker for event. Okay, my topic today is surveillance in person with Google Cloud Run. Before I start, I would like to ask any one of you have to use Kawan in your work? Oh, right. Okay. Right. Okay. So I will go to deep dive into the slide. Okay. My topic have three parts. The first one, I want to back to basic. I want to say something about container, and the second one, Kawan, and the last one, I will have some demo. Yeah. idea, no need to care about the infra and server, but it's depend on it's we upload the infra server to the cloud provider such as Google Cloud, and we can simply focusing on coding and innovating idea. No need to care about infra and server. Yeah. Okay. With Google Cloud, we can run any programming language, any library can run in Java, such as JS, Ruby, Golang, Python, and something. Okay, can run here very famous figure in internet that we can use to choose step we run. Uh, the first one is concurrency. We need to set up the operating system and choose the CPU.
Sorry, may earthquake with our file unit is passing. That's why that fluctuates.
Okay, okay.
May pa-connect rin ba siya? Or ano? Power? Pwede,
Okay, I'm still searching for Wi-Fi. Not run workload. With Kawan, we can simply focusing on developing and focusing on design and focusing on innovate and develop our application. No need to care about any infra and server behind. Okay. To deploy an application to Kawan, we have three steps. The first one is short code, and the second one, third one, the last one, we need to deploy it to Kawan. I will have some demo later, so you can see the code. Okay, this one, with Kawan, we can directly deploy our application from short code to the Kawan. I can demo now, so you can get it better. Here, you see here, I have the okay, I have the main.go. It's a very simple Golang code. I will show you here. Okay, you see, that's simple. Basic. Hello, Google, I will extend money now. Version 1. to deploy it to program with script without this one very simply command in the slide. One deploy demo. It will take some time and we need to choose the region of data center. I will choose Asia South one, the data center in Singapore. Hit enter. Within some time, depend on the internet connection. We are at the building stage. The first step is upload source code to the Google Cloud. The second step is the building container. No need, yeah, this one we don't need to download file. We can directly view back and upload to Cloud and run it. No need to download file. You can see here the machine yeah, building using view back. Yeah. No need to download file. I think the internet. Fortunately, I just record a video recording, so I will show you. Yeah, it's a video recording before the event. Okay, I think live demo enough now, so we can copy this file and go to the browser and get it. Okay, now our application are ready to use. Hello, who I will extend Manila. Back to the slide. Okay, I will prepare some additional feature of Google One. With Google One, we can easily scale up and scale down. We can scale down to resolve to set code when there are no traffic coming. If we automatically scale down to zero to set code and save money for first. And if we want to make this all the way ready to for traffic, we can hit the minimum instant is 1. It will boom start instead of close start from the 0 instant. Okay. Here the VPC asset with Kawan we can work it with some other product in Google Cloud such as Cloud File Store, Query, and other stuff like Cloud SQL. We can use the private VPC connector between our app application running on Google Cloud and connect to other stuff in Google Cloud. Yeah. Okay. For security, some application security to run with external environment variable. So for some variable that need to be secret, we can use the early secret measure in cloud and mount it to the Cloud application to minimize the secret attack from hacker or some other security issue. And another feature is the binary authorization. We also use BA in CKE and it also use in Kawan. This will only verify image can be now deployed to our application running on Kawan. Okay, and another feature of security, we investing to restriction the access from outside to our application. Kawan it will have three options on the own traffic. It means every person from our public internet can go to the Kawan application or on the only internal traffic from the same VPC in the Google Cloud project. And we also define the authentication method to our application running on Kawan. It will be implemented by Cloud IAM and as a service in Google Cloud. Only authenticated user can access it. Okay, and each Kawan service has its own identity. You can see in the slide. For example, Kawan service A can access the bucket, Cloud bucket A, but not bucket B, so it will minimize some security issue. Okay, so the next one, I will have the 9 level CI/CD with Google Cloud. Okay, here I have a GitHub repo. See, and I already deployed to this one. It's a Hello iOS 10 version 2. And I config this in the Cloud view. You can see here. Okay, this one. I have the GitHub repo like this. Okay. I config when we have put any commit to the runtime. It will automatically build and deploy our application and no need to further step. And then modify my code. Okay. Currently it's running version 2. I will commit a new commit to version 3. Okay, I put the commit in the right place and I see the Kawan will automatically deploy it. Refresh. You see the Cloud view is trigger and building my application. You can see here. Everything is fully automatically. So let's wait for some time. We have 3 steps: you put and deploy. Okay, it's ready now. Now I can visit the world again to the tree already. And as you can see in this screen, Kawan manage the revision. in the book club also, we can easily run out forward or backward. If we have any issue with the person, we can easily this traffic splitting in the book club. So it's very efficient for we deploy the application to process. We can easily roll back if the current doesn't have any issue. We can roll back the traffic here and okay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nguyen Hydrong. Now I know, guys, you are more inclined toward artificial intelligence, so buckle up and get ready for a captivating and enlightening conversation with our esteemed panelists. So this panel discussion will be moderated by Senti AI CEO and a Google developer expert for machine learning, and he has also represented Senti AI in the Philippines and in other countries including Hong Kong, Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Poland. And in 2020, he became the recipient of the 2020 Outstanding Young Entrepreneur in Service Award. And continuing his passion for education, he has also traveled around the world conducting machine learning bootcamps on behalf of Google to address the lack of talent and awareness about artificial intelligence. So together we will navigate the uncharted waters of innovation fueled by the collective passion to create a better world. Let us call on Ralph Vincent Regalado as he will be the moderator of our panel discussion. Next, to introduce our panels, is this panel is an aspiring young professional who brings a dynamic blend of knowledge and enthusiasm to the world of data analytics and machine learning. Graduating from the University of the Philippines with a degree in economics, currently his focus lies in integrating natural language processing or NLP systems that seamlessly align with the unique needs of businesses. And with his education, dedication, fresh perspective, and the drive to make a positive impact, he is poised to make waves in the field and leave his mark on the industry. Let us all welcome Kyle Chan. All right, our next panel is a data science and analytics lead and assistant professional lecturer as well. And he is a highly accomplished and an influential professional in the field of data science and analytics. And he holds multiple prominent roles, including being the data science and analytics lead at TransUnion and an assistant professional lecturer and research affiliate at De La Salle University. Additionally, he serves as the lead data scientist at the DAT Center for Strategic Futures or Data and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory. And he is none other than Jude Michael Tevez. And last but not the least for our panelist, she is a distinguished data science and artificial intelligence professional with an impressive track record in the field. And her expertise spans various machine learning and neural network models, and she has successfully applied artificial intelligence in numerous business and operational contexts across different industries. Currently, she serves as the lead solution strategist power, market, and ecosystems at Aboitiz Power Corporation and is seconded to Aboitiz Data Innovation as one of its lead strategists in the field of power. In this role, she takes charge of the Data Science and Artificial Intelligence Project Portfolio for Aboitiz Power Corporation. Please welcome Miss Ria Isabel Flora. Let us all give them a big round of applause, please. So there you have it. The floor is now yours, Mr. Ram, as he will be moderating our panel discussion.
All right, thank you so much for the introduction, and it's a pleasure to be seated with our future leaders, especially for data science and AI. So we want to have this discussion to you guys to explain, what are the new emerging technologies, especially in the space of generative AI. And I think some of our speakers was able to share to us from discussing model garden and discussing some of the aspects of artificial intelligence using Google Cloud and other technologies. And I think you guys have already tried ChatGPT, and that was a noise for the past few months. So today we're going to demystify what is generative AI. We're going to discuss what are the challenges behind this technology. Is it right for us to use it? And as developers, how can we use generative AI to support our organization, to support our industries? And I'm here together with this amazing panel. And maybe we can start with the first set of like question first. No, I think I would want to ask, what was your first AI project? Before we jump into generative AI, and I think some of you guys have been starting to create your own AI project or like data science project. I would want to know first, what's your first AI project? Let's start first with Kai.
Okay, so my first AI project, probably, I would say it was when I got into the industry, the telecom industry. It was usually regarding churn, insurance that we deal in our industry. So it's finding out what are the determinants of churn. So it's mostly regression-based things. So finding out what kind of subscribers are churn or not. Of course, I think use cases now have gone a bit more than just detecting them. Once you detect them, what are the next actions? And I think this is the field of AI, this after detection of these actions.
Right, thanks. Okay. In my case, I think my first AI project would be many years ago when I was still in undergrad. So I took computer science and computer engineering, and I used to do lots of computer vision, image processing, and audio processing. So um, I did many projects before, but off the top of my head, what I could remember would be like creating typical image classification models, but using models that are free neural networks. Like even more on traditional image processing techniques and then rule-based ones before I got into neural networks eventually. So that's actually my gateway to machine learning and neural networks. I used to use traditional techniques in CS and plumbing, and then eventually learn many things about neural networks, and I apply those learnings to more modern AI models.
For me, I think back then, that was many years ago. I did an agent based simulation, trying to model how Santa Rosa Laguna would have grown as an economy, given that back then Nuvali was starting to grow, but it wasn't taking off yet. So the goal was, can we see how this community will grow 5 years from now using some socioeconomic data, but also agent-based. But as an official, I mean, agent-based simulation before wasn't called AI. So I would say like the AI first thing was um, operational study on semiconductor manufacturing, trying to predict manufacturing errors in operational deficiencies.
All right, thanks for that quick introduction. I know some of you have your own stories as to how did you start your own AI projects. It's great to hear across like different industries discussing about churn, discussing about computer vision, and then discussing about building agent-based models, and many years ago. So, and I think now we are in a very exciting development of artificial intelligence, to which it was already mentioned that generative AI is expected to grow to reach up to around 1,100 US dollar billion by around 2030. So it's relatively huge impact in terms of market size. And it's a huge opportunity for us to understand how this is actually evolving and how is this industry being pushed and developed. So let's now try to understand first, especially for those that are not yet familiar. Let's ask the first question: what is generative AI? So I think for us, for our attendees, what is generative AI? Who would want to start first?
Okay, I guess I'll do it. Sure. Generative AI. Well, as the name suggests, it is an AI that is concerned with creating text, images, and all sorts of content in various formats. So right now, we would know ChatGPT and all the other new tools like DALL-E, what else, Midjourney, those generative AI tools. But generative AI is here for so long. Back in the 80s, 90s, we used to use like traditional ML models to create image or text. One of the more old school neural network architecture would be Boltzmann. I believe you've also used that before because we took the same masters and Boltzmann machines were taught to us. So there's little to no practical use for that right now, to be honest. But you could create like images using Boltzmann machines, and then that's just one example of generative AI back then, back in the 80s, 90s. But just recently, a couple of years ago, you had GANs, generative adversarial networks. So with GANs, there's been basically a huge spike in interest in generative AI once again. So like deepfake, what else? The image does not exist. Basically, all sorts of models that create images and text, or mostly images for the most part, make use of GANs. And then eventually, but I think that was around 2018, we had transformers. So that's the architecture that's behind ChatGPT and all these generative AI models that we have right now. So I guess that's like the summary of generative AI.
Thanks, Jun. I think it was a jam-packed like answer, right? So you talk about like GPTs, the transformers, and how generative AI was able to evolve. Even reversing like it started like 1980s. And why do you think is it now? I think anyone can answer in the panel that it has becoming being used outside of the public. I know that it has been a lot of like work in the research space prior to it becoming known and be used by different like people and even us, even the work. I even use like Chat GPT just to create content and email. Who use it for email? But okay, don't be shy. Most of us are using it, right? Why is it now na naging mas okay and naging useful ang generative AI?
Um, if you recall what Jude mentioned, neural networks have been around. I think the first publication was around 70s. It really is an offshoot of a lot of math and computational science studies. So what stopped them from scaling it up and putting it into how they work was the technology available. So yung math, it was already existing. The logic flow was already there, but there was no technology to operationalize these things. So if does anyone know how to code in COBOL or Fortran? So I coded Fortran. So Fortran is so slow, but that was how the space launchers were done in NASA before, right? So that was the capability back then. So only now that the economies of scale in terms of computational power and also all the engineering have caught up with the studies and the math that's behind it. So I think that's also one big factor.
Yeah, I think just to build on that, the rise of neural networks is due to the fact that we have increased functionalities, right? So we have web scale data. I think we all know that all of these large language models are trained on web data, right? And this didn't exist before. I think in the 80s, 90s, you see the Kundeva, that was the first, parang, the modern form of neural network with the recognizing handwritten digits. But back then, they were training on very long times just to train this very, very simple neural network. To get the scale that we have today, I think GPT-4 is 220 billion from this large, right? That's to get to this scale today, to get the GPUs you need, the scale efficiency, it's all possible within the past few years, right? So this is only something that could happen now, right? It couldn't happen before. So the technology was laid out then, but the actual use cases are just coming out now. And we'll see that grow even further, right? They say na the models we have now are only going to get better, right? This is the worst case. The models will come in. They'll keep on getting better.
Yeah, just to build on top of their responses. So yeah, definitely the computational power, the core math and the foundations of AI has been there since the 70s. But now we have better machines. Back then we only have like chips having thousands of transistors, but now we have billions of transistors inside a single chip. That means more computational power and faster execution. On top of that, we have more data. So back then we have like very few data, of course, it was 70s. Now we have so much data that you can scrape from the internet, and that means more samples that we could use to feed your machine learning algorithms on. So basically, it's the research, the hardware, more computational power, and then the data that we have right now. That's why we have um, AI that is working compared to what it was decades ago.
Sorry, last note, also funding. Ngayon lang kasi nagkaroon ng large-scale investments when it comes to this technology called AI. Before, it wasn't like businessmen, banks couldn't relate to AI, so they wouldn't fund these projects. But only now, just because people started making waves, people started being more vocal, so banks now are more open to investing in companies that do AI and thus helps the whole ecosystem to scale out.
Those are great insights, right? So discussing about increase of data, availability of data, computing power, technology, and funding. So let's now drill down in terms of your different industries. So I think we have Kyle here from telco, from finance, and then from power. I would want to understand what are the potential benefits of generative AI in your specific industries, and what are specific use cases that you're seeing that you think might be helpful in the industries that you are in right now. Would you want to start? Nahiya po kayo, ah.
Okay, I'll start. So I'm currently working in a financial institution right now, amongst others. I guess I'll share about education as well later. But yeah, I currently work at TransUnion, so it's a financial institution. We do have data about almost all banking institutions here in the Philippines, and we do credit scoring. Thing with generative AI is, I guess we are more defensive about that right now because this is a heavily regulated field. For example, let's say your client and you want to understand why you're getting this score, we have to explain to you why you're getting that. So we explain to you each feature, and this translates to having this much score. If you do this, then you'll have like plus 10, plus 20, or minus 20. So we're a bit more apprehensive about that when it comes to using generative AI for those kinds of use cases. But for other things, say for example, customer experience, that's something that is being explored. So for example, you have a problem, you want to contact someone, maybe you will chat the chatbot of this specific I don't know, company. Then using generative AI could lead to better user experience compared to just using traditional chatbots, which is not useful. I'm pretty sure you've tried to use some chatbots. It's not really performing well.
In terms of power, so if you see a power plant, it's actually a really really large facility, usually costing billions, even trillions, right? If one power plant trips, that could cost a company, depending on the size, at the bare minimum, like 10 to 20 million a day. If a single part of the plant trips. So where does AI come in? AI gives us the ability to simulate situations and to prevent any upcoming errors or outages or any incident basically, so that we could run scenarios. What if the substation is down? What if this part of the plant actually explodes or something? So it enables the management to see what can happen and how to prevent it without the actual event happening. And that's saving them essentially, if addressed properly, 20 million pesos a day. So
Yeah, I think in the telecom industry, maybe it's a little bit similar to the power industry. Right? We have very large infrastructure footprint that needs to be well maintained, so that it's always up and there's very little downtime. So in terms of maintenance, I think in this industry, we've got a lot of money in support, right? L0, L1 support for IT systems, infrastructures. We think that there's a very big opportunity in terms of Gen AI to basically revolutionize this space, right? So having systems that are available 24/7, that essentially do very little mistakes and have the power to immediately try to solve basic issues can help increase reliability, of course, increase the uptime of the total amount of networks that we have. So it's something that, of course, now in testing phase. I don't think you will see it implemented immediately. There's of course going to be a transition period where you see whether or not it actually works or not. So we will have to see what is the efficacy of those kind of systems in actual production. So it's going to be a development.
I think Jude was able to raise good points in terms of regulations, right? Because you cannot just outright implement something, especially if it's finance, especially if it's banks. I'm not quite sure how regulated like power is, and for sure telco is like also regulated. Applying such technologies would be challenging, especially if it's new and if it's not yet proven, right? Besides regulation, there might be some other use cases that can actually Gen AI is not there yet. I think anyone have heard like what hallucination is in generative AI? Really, hallucination is it creates non-factual content, no? So it just like mimic like says something that is not true. So imagine if it's one of their companies saying that okay may libre kang ano no kuryente or may libre kang may libre kang ano, load, di ba? It would be a PR nightmare for those organizations to say something is wrong. No? So it's very important to relatively I don't know, parang pace them. So, but again, going back to how do we pace it? How do you think organizations should be able to adapt generative AI applications? Do you think it's something that should be done? Okay, sige, let's do it mabilisan or let's do it like step by step. How do you perceive and what is your advice to organizations here or to developers here on how can they also push generative AI innovations within their organizations?
First, no, the hallucination problem is real, and that's an actual risk that not just in chatbots, in a lot of other applications of Gen AI. But if you go down to the core of it, it could have been prevented by design. So what I'm going at is not AI for AI's sake. I hate that notion na let's do data science kasi everybody else is doing data science. Let's do AI because my competitor is doing AI. A lot of the successes I've seen across organizations is that they want AI, they want data science, not because it's cool, not because it's the new thing, but because they have an operational gap or a commercial gap that they want to address. And from there, you could already see na, okay, so ito yung business problem ko, ito yung constraints ko, developer pasok ka dito. How do I translate yung commercial constraints na to into technical specifications, into functional specifications? So the translation between business requirements to technical and functional specifications, even more now with all this noise about Gen AI, is more important to avoid hallucinations or the risks by design.
Definitely agree with Ria's response. You have to focus on the business problem. If there's something that AI can improve, then use that. It just makes things more efficient, but focus on the business. Don't use generative AI just for the sake of it. In most cases, you don't.
Yeah. So I think for me, my take is probably would be far easier to internal processes first with Gen AI rather than the customer facing production environment, right? So things like I think Copilot is coming to Microsoft 365, right? GitHub Copilot. Those are the first implementations of Gen AI that you could use. Probably it's not something you develop on your own. But if you can show that it increases productivity to upper management, then it's something that they'll likely to take more seriously, right? So it's showing in use cases more that you can generate, increase revenue, decrease costs. These are the things that you will need to demonstrate for uh, for you to get funding, for you to get approvals for Gen AI, because it's like we said, no, it's still an unknown relatively right now. There's still some risks in terms of having these deployed, but definitely will show in the long term. But as of the moment, I think most businesses take a stance that they're more risk averse, especially businesses that have been here for a long time that are not tech startups. Right? So that's something to consider.
Right. Thanks for those insights. I think you were able like to raise Rihanna. I think the balance between okay technical requirements by business requirements, making sure that there's a bridge between the two. That's very important because sometimes business will go ahead or like technical will go ahead. So I think balancing the needs of like both with regards to innovation is a must, especially dealing with artificial intelligence. I think you raise a good point that AI is not just the actual solution. It's just figuring out what other technologies. It might not be AI. It might be just a simple, I don't know, churn or like classical ML or classical solutions that might answer some of those solutions within the organization. In terms of, I think looking at it, Philippines in terms of like adoption, we're not quite as fast, compared to other countries. I will not be asking you to speak in behalf of the organization that you have, but how do we now reach that gap? How do we, as a country, how do we now able to reach that specific, okay, we're something like similar towards organizations abroad that we're, if there's a new technology, we're immediately able to like adapt into it. What might be the steps in organizations or even as developers we should do to be able to be ahead?
I think one thing that we can consider is have a committed mindset towards being more digital, right? So I think when we implement these things, there's always a chance that it can go wrong. I think we can take the measures to make sure that we limit the scope, we figure out and frame it properly that we reduce the risk, but the risk will always be there. We have to have the mindset that we're committed towards adoption, right? So we don't, at the first step, that something's wrong, we don't, you know, pull back and say, let's stop this all the way, because that sets us back quite a lot. So it's really trying to push forward, and we know that technology is continuous improvement, continuous development, and we head towards that direction.
I guess we could start with doing these kinds of events, right? So that everyone is educated what generative AI can do. And eventually, as time goes by, more and more institutions would be more aware of the limitations of these technologies. And with that, adoption becomes easier. So we start with that. We start with evangelization. We start with educating the people, and then let them know the actual limitations of these tools. And yeah, I think that would help in terms of adoption eventually in the future.
Um, I think just taking a step back aside from the individual perspective, right? But from an ecosystem in the Philippines. And this is a note from a lot of the enterprise software vendors that I know. Philippines is very kuripot. So, for those working, sino may projects na na-cut because of budget constraints? Right? Yes, I relate. So, in the Philippines, I'll give context. In the Philippines, 100,000 US dollars for an enterprise software is super, super steep. It almost has to pass Mancom level to be approved. In Singapore, middle management could already approve for that as long as the value is seen. And that goes back to what Jude is saying. We have to educate these people that ERP systems are not just fancy screens that you click on, but it actually produces value. That these Gen AI, these chatbots are not just like removing your agents from the screen, but it's also improving turnover time. It's increasing your conversion, etc. Right? So I would say aside from advocating across the developer groups, there really is a need to push it from up because the difference really is budget. Like we I think the Philippines does not lack the talent. Like we export a lot of our developer talents. but it's a matter of keeping them in.
That's a great point. No? It's not just advocating towards fellow devs, but also advocating within your organization in terms of adoption, because sometimes that's where the blockers is, in terms of adoption, in terms of like budget, in terms of the ideas that you would want to push. Going back to generative AI, I would want to understand, what are you seeing some changes now in terms of people applying it, people using it? How will this affect the future of work in some of the industries that you're in?
I think if Gen AI becomes or widely adopted, one of the things that can quickly change, in our field is in the field of marketing, right? So I think telecom is a very highly challenging environment right now. There are many players. It takes a lot of effort to stay on top in terms of brand recognition, all that. So there's a lot of effort being spent on making sure that we have effective campaigns, effective messaging going out. So one thing that Gen A can do is be a personalized campaign management system. That's for everyone individually, right? You have your own campaign just for you. So that's very different from right now that we have it. That's parang medyo blocky siya. You use AI or data analytics, but you have segments. So that's one thing that I think can revolutionize the whole space, right? So having end-to-end everything generated, even the influencers, right? So if it's na ngayon, the influencers have a generic message. What if the influencers can now be generated as well? So you brand or you license the likeness of someone, then you can use that likeness to do your marketing for you. It's a very big thing. I think would be next thing. Maybe it's not there yet, but it could be something in the future.
Definitely agree with the personalized campaigns, and I would want to make it more general. So, personalized assistants. I think that's the main value of these generative AI tools that we have right now, such as ChatGPT. And I think it's very rare to see a technology where it has affected pretty much all industries. Like ChatGPT, when it was first released, it was the buzz, right? Everyone's talking about it. Everyone wants to use it in all sorts of industries until now, of course. You're seeing that right now. So personalized assistant, and basically you use that to make you more efficient in what you do. You see it in, for example, in the academic setting, students are using that to do their homework. Of course, that's debatable. Yeah, I am a prof, so I guess I'll share things about that right now. I allow my students to use ChatGPT as long as they mention which part to use it for, and of course they have to still use critical thinking because it hallucinates. And in many of the homeworks and projects that I do, many of them can't be answered by ChatGPT. I tried. It can't make correct code, especially for more niche ones. It can't. Um, when I give them homeworks and quizzes, it usually gives them almost correct code. You think that it looks correct, but not really. It will give you the wrong output. So yes, you still have to use critical thinking. But yeah, in general, I would say it's really more of a personal assistant to do whatever you want to do, makes you more efficient in general, and you can apply it to whatever work that you do. In my case, I use it for email, I use it for generating some template code, and then I do the modifications. You still have to have your domain expertise. You have to know which one is correct or wrong. You have to still edit the code.
Yeah, actually, I like that point you said that um, it yes, it could come up with code, but you need critical thinking. Because right, the point of coding is not syntax evolves every year. Like the Java 10 years ago is different from Java now. But I think on a more operational perspective, Gen AI is bringing people back to the actual graduate degrees that they have. Meaning, we have marketing graduates who are just spending 30 days of the month coming up with PowerPoints. In no way in your college degree did you study how to make a PowerPoint. You did not pay that much tuition fee just to come up with paperworks, right? So now, the one that I'm observing is a lot of the admin, mechanical, or like the mundane tasks are being offloaded to Gen AI. So that you as a graduate, you are now going back to the core that you represent a marketing nature. Or if you're if you're a developer, you're no longer burdened by sige, just figure out the syntax. No, you're burdened now to think how do I optimize my code? How do I optimize the load time for this? So a lot of critical thinking. And I think on the surface level, a lot of people are scared for Gen AI because it removes those mundane tasks. And that's a risk if you're not that equipped, but it's also a challenge to stick and evolve yourself.
Thanks for those answers. I think um, hearing about those use cases, hearing about those opportunities, let's try to balance it out in terms of how do we now do it responsibly. I think that's an ongoing discussion. I think we have, if you have heard like some news about celebrities in Hollywood, right, doing some strike right now because of we we're actually probably heading towards a Black Mirror a Black Mirror season. Okay, it would just like mimic our faces, and then it would like, just create movies and using our faces. And I think this in the Philippine aspect, promulgation of like fake news, fake videos, and fake content using leveraging these technologies. How can we ensure that generative AI is used ethically and responsibly? Challenging question to. Pang Miss Universe.
Uh, I guess with everything that we do, it has to be human centered. Same applies for artificial intelligence. We are going to be the users of this technology, so we always have to think of ourselves in mind when we develop such technologies. So, for example, I guess I could relate it to how ChatGPT was conceptualized or was built. So, with the original GPT 3.5, it's a standard large language model. But what ChatGPT added, they did not disclose the full the technical specifications of that. But what we know is like the high level stuff on how ChatGPT was built. So it also included human feedback in it. There's reinforcement learning. So that's one way of making sure that the output of these technologies are aligned with what is important to us humans. On top of that, on top of making it human-centered, there has to be lots of testing. It has to be monitored every once in a while because there's this model drift. Basically, you train this model for this specific period of time, wait like a few weeks or even days, it will not apply anymore. So just to make sure that you constantly monitor the results. What else? Could also We also have to ensure that the data set that is being fed into the models are quite diverse in the sense that it is not focused on a specific race. Because most of the data sets that we'll be seeing out there, for example, for computer vision related ones, it's mostly trained on white people. So it does not perform well on other races. So basically, we have to make sure that we are also um, catching all of those other groups that these models are not normally trained on.
Yeah, I think that that's correct. No? I'm not sure if you've heard the news. I think Llama 2 is the most recent LLM that was released. It's just this week. And there they dive with deeper on the safety that they try to implement. So in their model, um, their reinforcement learning had two components. One is to grade the helpfulness of the prompts, and second is to grade safety of the prompts. So those are actually being fed into the model itself as parameters now. So you don't have to control it as a separate layer. So I think more and more that might be the way we go. We have humans in the loop trying to grade for safety. Of course, this poses questions on who gets to decide what that safety is, right? So who are these people who are grading? What are the criteria that's being used for grading? It was also well documented that GPT itself over time has been reduced in helpfulness, right? It refuses to answer more and more questions, even though the questions might not be, say, quote unquote dangerous, right? So might be something.
I think there is a notion also that open is equal to safe, which is wrong. The reason why some of these Gen AI models are not exactly open or some parts of it is black box because there are again safety repercussions for it. Meaning, if a child offender is able to reverse engineer how the model is able to recognize and generate images of children, then that leads to the risk of proliferating child pornography. So there are certain risks that are not that upfront, but if you are on the side of wanting to use it for illicit purposes, you would always find a way. So I think striking the balance there is noting to yourself that open is not necessarily safe. Same for large language models, right? Yes, we want to understand how it's able to predict the next text, how it's able to come up with a context. But likewise, if it's completely open, then it opens up the door for fake news. It opens up the door for more deceiving text out there in the web. But also striking the balance is we also have to accept to ourselves that some jobs are really going to be at risk. I'll give an example. The development of CGI was put the people at risk, particularly the props men, people who developed props in movies before. And just looking at it, yes, they're striking, but also because institutions like producers do not have the support to these people to elevate them to the new work landscape. Meaning, yung props men noon, ang skills lang nila pang props. Wala silang skills to do CGI. Tapos dadating pa si Gen AI. So, if we could provide that support na, yes, ito lang yung skills mo ngayon, but there's this new technology, let us upskill you so that you could catch up, then I think that strikes the balance of using Gen AI and AI assisted in the workplace.
That's a great point, Rian. I think most of developers and even our fellow friends who are in different industries are scared of this innovation. And sometimes it becomes the hinder to be able to use these technologies to relatively push our projects because they're scared. I will be replaced. I will lost my job. And we have been reading all of these articles, that people are relatively losing their jobs and because they weren't able to catch up with these new technologies. So as developers, and I think there's a lot of technologies right now that can actually do the code for you. I think there was a discussion about Duet AI a while ago, and I think we have GitHub Copilot that can actually do the code. As developers, how should we be able to upskill ourselves? And how should we be ready? Actually, hindi na lang be ready. How should we be not be prepared? How can we actually be, I don't know, still be relevant in the space of generative AI, to which it is here now? How can we upskill ourselves further to adapt to these new technologies? What are your advices, especially to our listeners today?
Yeah, and I think it's just a matter of experimenting, right? So I think right now it's a very young field, and a lot of these technologies are free to use, free to try out. So Copilot, you can try it out as a trial. I think GPT, where you can use it as an API, so you can get to see what the limits are of this new technology. Of course, this technology changes so fast now, so the capabilities now might be different from capabilities 3 months from now. So it's just a matter of staying up to the loop. Maybe you don't need to keep up with reading the new academic papers that come out. So there's a lot of them, but just experimenting and seeing where the technology takes us.
Yeah, I agree with so many research papers now. I am in academia, and there's just so much. You can't keep up with all of these advancements in research. So what I normally recommend to most of my students and all of the people who ask from me is to focus on the fundamentals because they don't change for the most part. For example, the math, stat, and CS foundations of all these AI tools are the same. For example, gradient descent is the core of neural networks. It has been that way since the 70s. If you know how it works, of course, there will be some changes on how they did the pre-processing or all those additions of new steps, but the core is the same. That's always been like that since then. And if you have good foundations, it's easy to transfer that to other technologies in the future. So if there will be another neural network architecture, then it's probably going to be more or less the same. So I suggest that you focus on the fundamentals and also develop your critical thinking skills. It's more apparent now that you have to have those things because you have these tools to do the mundane tasks for you. You now have to use your critical thinking skills and validate if things are really correct or not.
Yeah, on that, right? stick to the foundations. Make sure your foundations are good. But likewise, don't be naive to the new technologies because we could force ourselves not to evolve, and that will just you will be the biggest loser in that scenario. So the way that I see it is Gen AI is just a whole new playing field. Actually, it's even a whole new set of tools for you to use. But the question is, as a UI UX designer, regardless the tool, if you know how to design well, you will know how to design well. But it's a matter of adapting to that and learning it, and not being too scared to try, as you said, experiment. But for those that, as you mentioned, like the code part, yes. But my question is it not making life so much better? You have to you now have templates. Then you could just move to the next question: is how do I optimize this? How do I fit this to the business question, etc. Because again, you could ask ChatGPT, ito yung technical requirements ni client, can you make me a code? Yes, may ibibigay siya sa'yo, but how sure are you that it's the actual and right fit solution? So that's where your skill actually shows.
So it's right, I think it moved no, to becoming focused on our soft skills in terms of like critical thinking. I think it's very important in your continuous learning. I think we're in a space that technology is continuously moving fast. And you're here in the technology because you know that it's moving fast too. So it's very important for developers to be able to I don't know, adapt to these new technologies and not be naive into it. Because again, tayo din yung may mapag-iiwanan. So before we end our talk, I would want to ask you guys, what's your advice to those who would want to explore generative AI, to those who would want to push generative AI projects in their organizations?
Yeah. Again, it's a bit of both. So experimentation and the fundamentals. Really have to combine both. So if you now have stable foundations, you know the limitations, the possibilities. Now you experiment with all those things that are available to you, and focus on something that is very important to you. In my case, when I was developing many projects before, I was doing lots of use cases about animes, for example, when I just want to do some quick ML or stat work, because it's something that I'm really passionate about, and I am having fun while I'm doing those cases, and I'm learning along the way. So I did like many analysis on the games that I play, check the, for example, for Animal Crossing, like the Turnip Stock Exchange, that one, and for the Genshin Impact, because I love to play Genshin Impact, I was calculating the odds of getting this character or the 4 or 5 stars when it was still beginning. Now it is clear on the soft pity rate. Sorry for geeking out on those things, but you get the idea. Do a project that is something that you're really passionate about and apply all those learnings.
Yeah, I think same with what said. But maybe if it would be take a different approach, my thing would be to keep up with a lot of some of the developments. Maybe not all of it. One way I would do that usually is to listen to podcasts. Yeah, so I think Lex Friedman is one of the best info sources out there. A lot of the forefronts of ML AI researchers usually go and interview with them. So you get a lot of knowledge just listening to that, right? So if you want somewhere of good knowledge to see what's the latest in terms of news, just listening to that gives you a lot of insight of what's next to come.
Yeah, so keep up with the times. I think my biggest advice is be honest to yourself, know what your strengths and weaknesses are. Because, for example, if your strength is you're really, really good and you're really, really quick to come up with codes, but your weakness is you don't know how to translate it to like business questions. You're really not that person. You're really just at your core a programmer, right? So play with your strengths and try to catch up with your weaknesses and see how these technologies could help you with that. So if you're having a problem um, developing your soft skills, use Gen AI, right? Try it as a prompter for let's say interview prompts. Like if you could ask ChatGPT, could you give me a set of questions for a job interview, etc. So use these tools to address your weaknesses and hopefully catch up with that. But in terms of upskilling, etc., always be open. Kasi it's either you don't catch up or you catch up, right? So whoever wins wins, and I think that's the scenario that we are right now.
Right. Thank you so much, Ria, Jude, and Kyle, for those enlightening insights, that you were able to share to us. And I think that was great that you're able to first highlight the importance of continuous upskilling by understanding, okay, how this artificial intelligence and probably new wave of artificial intelligence would definitely affect us. We should be able to also continuously learn those new technologies and continuously upskill ourselves, not only on the technical, but also on our soft skills. I think next is being able to also understand um, how could we apply responsibly artificial intelligence. We know that there are risks, but it shouldn't also hinder us to be able to push these projects. And that is, I think, one of the core things I was able to get you guys. It's like, how do you now become an advocate, not only towards you yourself, like using AI, but also to your peers? Because at some point they will be the one asking you, what's AI, right? You should be able to also answer and provide them a concrete answer to it. And you should be the one helping them and which tools would be able to help them address these new emerging changes that we have. So let's give a round of applause to our moderators, and I hope you guys were able to learn towards the discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ralph Vincent Regalado, Kyle Chan, Jude Michael Teves, and Miss Ria Isabel Flora for that enlightening panel discussions. All right, so that's a wrap for our tech session. So do you guys enjoy our tech talks? I'm pretty sure that you have learned something new. So we will now begin to our raffle. All right, raffle game. All right, so we will be flashing the questions, the trivia questions out here. So if you know the answer, feel free to answer or go here or raise your hand to win some swags. All right, it's game time. For our first question, what does I/O stands for in Google I/O? Sino na una? All right, one, two, three. I think. Please. All right. To repeat the question, what does I/O stands for in Google I/O? Is that correct? All right. Congratulations, JC. So, all right. So please come here in front po to claim your prize. So the answer is I/O stands for input output as well as the slogan innovation in the open. Congratulations to JC. So next, when was the first Google I/O conference held or what year? So I see someone who raised their hands. All right. So ano po yung answer?
2015 po.
2015. Is that correct? Oh no. Next. 2018. Is that correct? Oh no. 2008. Is that correct? All right. Congratulations. What's your name po? Zara. Zara. Congratulations, Zara. Next. What is the latest Android 14 code name? Ayan, bilis. What's the answer po?
Android 14 is named Upside Down Cake.
Is that correct? Correct. Congratulations. The answer is upside down cake. Congratulations. So you may now claim your prize. Next, what is the name of Google's new large language model that was announced at I/O 2023? So, Alright, sinong nauna? Ayan. Theo, what is the answer?
I'm not sure if it is Google Bard.
Google Bard, is that correct? Oh no. Sorry. So next. Oh, okay, dito.
Palm 2.
Is that correct? Palm 2, correct. Congratulations. What's your name po?
Road.
Alright, congratulations for your new swag. So next, the new LLM announced at... Oh, wala na. Yan pala yung sagot. Next, wala na. Alright, congratulations to all our winners! Alright, so without further ado, before we officially close our event, let us call on Joanna Chang to deliver the closing remarks.
Hi guys, so hope you enjoyed this afternoon. So despite the few hiccups that we had, and thank you for taking your time to learn from our experts, and thank you for the speakers coming from all over the world, and especially our volunteers who took the time to build this event for you guys. So see you in our next event, our Dev Fest, the biggest one for this year.
So that's the wrap for Google I/O Extended Manila 2023. So once again, I am your host, Natasha Molina, and we'll see you on the Google I/O Extended Bulacan 2023. So watch out for further updates. Thank you guys. Keep safe.
By the way, may photos pa po na printed here. So ipakita niyo yung kanya, you can check it out.
Yeah, so you may claim your photos.
Guys, send it feedback form to your email. If you would like to send feedback.
We'll send out the feedback form on your emails po. So please answer that so we can help us improve our next event. Thank you so much. So you may now claim your photos here in the front. So we have a table out here that has your photo. So please claim it before going out. Thank you so much.